We are live. Yes. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hey, okay, well, I'm going to kick us off. Hello, I am Amber here with Julia hosting us. And we are here today coming together, a group of fellow heart-centered healers and leaders. And we're here today to have a conversation about what it means to live and lead in alignment with your magic, with your innate gifts. You might think of these as your strengths, your zone of genius. But today we're going to be playing with that phrase around innate magic, because really we all have a type of magic within us. And we will be having a conversation with 4 transformational leaders, myself and my peers here, sharing a bit about our journey and how we came to uncover more about our magic and our strengths. And we are all from different industries across the globe with different experiences. But what we've all had in common was there came a point in our journeys where we knew more was possible, but more was going to come from something different than just like hustling harder and working harder. So we want to share some of that so that hopefully if you're on that journey, you can take something away in helping you have a life of greater alignment and flow. So my name is Amber Swenor. I am a transformational brand strategist, the founder of Soul Seed, which is an ecosystem that includes Soul Seed strategy. We help people with brand strategy and marketing. I also have my personal brand business where I coach and do talks around authenticity. I'm also a musician and have a CBD brand. And I'll be sharing a bit later about my magic, which, as you might guess, involves managing multiple things. So I am going to pass it over to Amy to share a bit about yourself.
Good, and make sure my mute works. Good evening, everybody. My name is Amy Flores Young, known as Amy Flo-Yo here on the interwebs, and that's my website as well, floyotravel.com. I am a travel professional focused on transformational travel. I'm really passionate about the shared travel experience and how it's just such an opportunity to grow and see beyond yourself. And I'm passionate about people building those relationships and transforming themselves and the people they're around through travel. I help coaches and leaders share their gifts, raise the vibration of everyone around them, one retreat at a time. So I do all retreat planning as well as traditional travel planning as well. So I'm excited to be here with the lovely ladies this evening. Thanks so much. And Lisa, are you ready?
Hi. So it's great to be here with y'all. My name's Lisa Dunford Dickman. I'm a writer, a traveler, a creative, and a coach. And I have become a bit of an expert at reinventing myself over the years. I've lived in 5 countries and I speak 4 languages, 5 if you include Texan, which I'm pretty proficient at. And I have over the course of the years, changed careers, changed countries. I've been a embassy worker at the USAID in Slovakia. I've been a features editor in a mid-market newspaper. I wrote travel guidebooks for nearly 15 years. And most recently, I've created a hybrid coaching, writing, creating career. What I know for sure is that so much more is possible than most of us think. And I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to dissolve their blocks and be able to access those possibilities. So I'm really glad to be here with y'all. Julia, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, so great to be here. And my name is Julia Bernatsky. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of Untamed Hearts and the creator of Untame Your Heart retreats and private coaching. At Untamed Hearts, we create objects, a lot of them are jewelry, that are infused with energy, created with intention. And in your hands, they become your amulets. And they help you to call forth the energy when you need it. And they help you to show up in the world in the way that you want the world to receive you. And so these pieces are all about meaningful. And if you want to take that work deeper, if you want to connect to that deeper part of you that allows you to create your life and your business with no fears or limitations, then I take you deeper through Untame Your Heart's experiences. I live in New York City, and I'm extremely happy to start this conversation and pass it along to Lisa once again, because we prepared something for you so that we can get really present, grounded, and be in this moment, removing all the noise and all the thoughts that might be in the way of us being present. Lisa, it's all yours.
I want to invite you to tune in. And if you're in a safe space, feel your feet on the floor. You may want to close your eyes. If you're not comfortable with that, do what feels best for you. But I'm just going to lead you in a simple 5 deep breaths. We're going to breathe in for a count of 3, pause for 1, and then breathe out through our mouth for 3 more. So if we put our feet on the floor, close our eyes, and take a deep breath in through our nose. Pause. Out through our mouth. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Out through your mouth. Take a deep breath in. Pause. Out through your mouth. And 1 more. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Pause. And out through your mouth. And just see if you feel a little more present here now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. It's very grounding. So, as we were preparing to this conversation, we spoke about like 4 different subjects that we wanted to introduce you to. And I'm going to ask Amy to take it away and start us off with something that feels very close to your heart.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Lisa, for that and getting us all settled in for the evening for a little bit here. When we were talking around the topic of identifying your strength, zone of genius, magic, all of those words that we utilize when we think of how we connect with the world in our business, it brought up a lot for me about, because people joke that, I'm in the wellness, healing, holistic space through all of my retreat work, but I'm probably the most black and white kind of scientific based person as well, which is why I'm good at what I do. So it kind of brought up this pull of, so how do I identify my magic in that zone of genius? For me, when there's so much programming, whatever we want to call it, environmental upbringing, societal tensions, all of those things, like we're just programmed a certain way. And that's what I found. The deeper I started looking, some of you may know about human design or some of those other ways that we identify our magic in our best traits and how to best utilize what we're here to do. The more I kept digging into that, I realized that so much of what I do goes against what I should be doing, if that makes sense, because I'm so programmed to just be all in all the time, which is great. And I'm really good at logically taking radical responsibility for my actions, but not truly maybe understanding all of those feelings and emotion around it. Because again, to me, it was black and white. It is what it is. Here's an action, here's a consequence or an outcome. So I've been working really hard at releasing that being able to be wrong without not wrong, without feeling wrong, being able to change and adapt without it feeling wrong. So that's been really important to me. So I would love if anybody else wants to identify how you've been tuning in to your zone of genius and your magic. Amber, would you like, oh, sorry. No,
That's
my bad.
funny. I was actually going to unmute myself. So we were
Okay, that maybe that's why I was like, oh, but go
we're
for it.
connecting. We're on the vibes.
See?
Well, and I resonate with so much that you were sharing to this question of how do we uncover our magic, our zone of genius. For me, it's not any one single thing, but many different moments. But if I were to boil it down into a couple of things that maybe others can probably recognize, to what Amy was saying, for me, it was about trusting how I felt. So, like growing up in a background where everybody worked extremely hard, and like my parents, worked so hard in long hours. Like I was, they hadn't graduated high school. Like they were the type that had to work long hours, many jobs, everything came hard. And so you kind of get that programmed, which can serve us for a while, right? It's what helped me get to college, like not be afraid to pursue new jobs, really increase my income, become a top salesperson. It works for a while. What I've found to help uncover my innate gifts, because I believe that when you're in your gifts and your magic, it does feel easy. It can be easy. That's what makes us really freaking uncomfortable, because we think it has to be hard. So whenever I've had like really increased resistance or tension around something, that's been my opportunity to look at, okay, something in my soul, in my truth is bumping up against my conditioning and my way of being. And that's why this doesn't feel good. And so there were different stages in the journey of finally giving that voice and looking at, why do I feel like emotionally I could explode? Well, it's because the way that I was living externally really was not in alignment with my true self. And for me, my process of becoming an entrepreneur and growing my business has been the complete case study in uncovering my truest self and finding my magic. Like, I don't know who's with me on that. Like there's a phrase I say that if you want to uncover your like blocks and your limiting beliefs, like go build a business. So honestly, a lot for me ties in with my business, which is why I teach a lot through that lens of being an entrepreneur as well as a musician, because those are things that I'm very like visible, and I'm leading and I'm doing things that in the journey, every time something got uncomfortable or I was self-doubting, it was actually an opportunity to uncover more of my true self. And the only way I could learn that was by living those experiences as a business owner and as a musician. So that's what comes up for me, like seeing where the resistance is and then not being afraid to look at it and not being actually giving voice to my emotions and how I feel.
I love how you talk about it being easy, Amber. That's what it was for me too. When I've always been able to see big possibilities, and not just see them, but really believe they're possible and find a way to make them happen. And it was really the water I swam in. I didn't know I was doing anything special. When I graduated from university, I had a degree in international affairs, but I couldn't get an international job because I had no experience. So a boyfriend and I at the time decided we were going to go get some experience. So we kicked around Europe for a little while before we moved to Slovakia. And I worked my way from doing voiceovers on documentary films to freelance reports to getting a job at the embassy for USAID and working there for a few years. From there, I continued to make big career or country changes, and I didn't really think a whole lot about it. It seemed normal to me. It seemed natural, and eventually I realized not everyone thought that was easy. And once I was doing my coach training, I realized seeing the big possibilities, uncovering your blocks, helping work with your blocks, and helping women access and actualize those possibilities was something I could help them with, that was a part of my magic. part of my skill set. But it was entirely started out as something I did not know I had. How did it show up for you, Julia?
Thank you, Lisa. It's amazing. I was just listening to every word you're saying, and I can relate to every single thing that was said here right now, because the magic that that is such a deep part. Our magic is such a deep, invisible part of us. It's such an intricate, like almost our own DNA that we are so used to it. That's all we know. We've known it from the moment we were born. So it's very natural for us. So like identifying it, seeing it is not something that comes naturally, at least for me. So I had to go through a whole process, and it took many years of my life until I realized that not everybody can do what I do. I thought that everybody can do that. Everybody is wired like that. But everyone has their very own, very unique way that the magic, the source, the God, the creator talks and shines through them. And so for me, I'm going to take you back a little bit. Ever since I was 9 years old, I was creating clothing and I was designing. And so I am a designer, but there's another part of me, and my essence is a healer. And I didn't separate those two. I didn't realize it was happening. But what was interesting is that every time I would be creating something, I didn't know that I was doing it, but I had to zone in. I had to tune in into something. And very often I was doing it in the middle of the night. So when I came to America, I found myself working in the fashion industry and creating clothing that were very popular. And I had this glamorous career. And then when I switched my career to working at the high-end brands in publishing world, and I was also creating something that had very little revisions. So I would channel something in without calling it that way. I would tune in into the space where information would come through me, and I would give the energy of it a physical shape, whether it's clothing or jewelry or digital world product, websites, applications, marketing material, whatever it is, it would come through me. Every time I would look at it, did I do it? No, I don't think I did it. Something came through me. And on a very practical level, what came through me had very little revisions, because what it represented was not just an image. It represented the energy of that product, of that project, of that message. And so once the energy is aligned, then people receive it in the right way. So eventually, I realized that this is a gift. Not everybody does it. And I started to build on it. And then I also realized that the energy that is coming through is a healing energy. And I was wondering, during the shows, and Amber, you were at one of my shows, we met at Madison, and a lot of times people would come to me during the shows. They would start talking to me. And they basically would receive a full-blown session. And they would be just standing, they would come back and say, can I just stand next to you? Or the next day, the same person would come back, can I ask you one more question? And I said, yes, absolutely, please do. It's an honor for me to be there, to provide, to channel, to share. But what I realize is that people want to go deeper. And when they get into my energy space, something starts to shift. And that is my magic. I have people to drop into that place, a very special place, when they can face and connect and drop into who they really are, and then create from that place without any fears or any limitations. Does that make sense? Yes? Great. I'm going to exhale. Yes. And I'm gonna, who wants to continue? I'm just gonna leave it open. Who is?
Well, I'll take us into the next question. I think everyone started sharing. Yes. What I'm really hearing in that, to take it into our next question, is sometimes it's the thing that we are already doing, but we don't always realize how powerful it is, or we don't know how to channel that into what we're all here as entrepreneurs. And we all use our gifts and our magic some way in how we work with people. And so in that journey, though, in order to step into that place where you're actually leading and living with your gifts, and in our place, in our conversation, that's most of us, it's being an entrepreneur or how you do your work. In order to get to that place, usually it requires recognizing the defaults or habits that are holding you back, like what we've kind of started sharing. And so my gift is soulful strategy. I can intuit with people, like what's the soul foundation, what's authentic for them. And so with businesses, it would be brand strategy. And I was working for years in television sales, and I would do this, like the strategy piece around what should their messaging say, but underlying, I didn't realize how much power was there to the intuition, because I just knew how to write the ask questions to go deeper, to get to the root of why their business existed. It was way more than just like putting ads on TV, which is what Julia was saying. It's more than just making jewelry or putting fancy graphics together. There's an energy underneath it. So for me, one of the biggest things, though, that revealed as a default was in my journey when I was a business owner, and it came up with responsibility. So for anyone who had played a role where you feel like you were the parent child growing up, like if you had more responsibility on you than maybe should have been as a child, this can show up a lot for people who maybe resonate with that. And I carried that into growing my business, where my magic is to see the full, expansive, soulful strategy that's available for the businesses I work with. Like I can see the whole picture of what's possible, but that abundant, expansive energy is very different from resistant responsibility energy. Does that resonate? Right? Like when I was hanging on way too tightly responsibility for every single team member and every single family member and every single client, I was energetically hanging on to way too much that wasn't mine. And that was a default pattern that continued showing up over 6-7 years. And each time I would heal new layers of it, because I recognized, for me to be fully in my expansive, strategic, abundant energy and potential to help businesses, I can't be bogged down over here holding on to every little fear about every single person. I have to trust that we're each on our path. And if they're meant to stay on board as a client or a team member, they will. And if they're not, then it's for the greater good. So I'd love to invite Lisa to share is there anything for you that showed up in the journey as a habit or default?
Absolutely. And in fact, it has to do with what you're talking about, in a way, taking on too much responsibility. I was crazy, super hard on myself all the time. And the more vulnerable I felt, the harder I was on myself, and the more afraid I was of doing something wrong and what it would mean about me if I did something wrong. I imagined it meant terrible things. I sucked, or I was no good at this, or I shouldn't be doing this. And I, for years, was able to get past that, or push it to the side, or procrastinate a little, but not get too stuck. But the more vulnerable I felt, the worse it got. And my tendency is, when I'm triggered or when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I freeze. I don't, some people spring into action in the fight, flight, freeze mode. I curl up in a ball on my couch. There would be me in a ball on the couch with a bag of Cheetos and some binge watching program that I was not even interested in, that I didn't even like. And I finally had to get really curious. I had to get really curious about this pattern, because I knew that if I didn't go deeper into why it was happening and maybe ways I could heal it, then I wasn't going to get any farther in my business or my life. And I'm wondering, Amy, how might that show up for you? Were there any defaults you found?
Oh my God. You guys I'm not going to reiterate everything Amber and Lisa just said, but so much of that. Exactly. I was a young, responsible person, responsible for many things. So it took me well into my 40s to truly uncover what that meant and how that impacted my whole life, like that conditioning, programming. I just always, well, that's who I am, right? Well, that's who I am. And then as I've started pulling away the layers and peeking behind the curtain a little bit, like you guys were saying, I'm realizing that it's who I am because, not who I am truly within, if that makes, just trying to shift the conversation a little bit with that. Because exactly like you were saying, I felt like, Amber, I had to make sure everything went amazingly well, especially in my business, even the things I technically, contractually was not responsible for. I was taking on, checking on the marketing timeline, checking on things that were not, number one, not my total zone of genius. I'm more than competent, but not my best magic. But I still felt all of that responsibility to be the pull-in, if that makes sense, to get everybody on board and double check and da da da. So, and we talked about that a little bit in getting this group together. That, yeah, it's just been so amazing that to realize that just because you are competent and efficient and effective in something doesn't mean you have to take it on. And that's really these past few years, as you were saying, like we're all here in business and as an entrepreneur, I've really pared down, like you're like given the responsibility to others. Like you were saying, Amber, like let them do what needs to be done. And I don't have to wear that anymore. And in the freeze, flight, or fight mode, I'm exact opposite, Lisa. The more that I feel it, the more I go. Everybody calls me the Energizer Bunny and go, go, go. And when do you ever sleep and all of that? And it's the same thing. Well, that's just who I am. But the more it's like, but am I really that? And am I doing my best work when I'm like that? And I've realized how to let go of things, whether that, like Amber, like you said, whether that's a client or someone you're working with and it's no longer a match, and that's okay. So just some of the things we were talking about, like why do we feel like when you said the magic should be easy, I love that. And that's exactly it. Because I think when it feels easy and aligned, we get worried from all of that preconditioning. So how do we release that? That's what I'm working on, is like, no, it's okay. Things are good. It's supposed to be easy. And for those of us, like some of you, like Julia said, she tunes in, she feels it, and she can create with it. I'm just learning to get better and tune in harder, I guess, is maybe not that it's hard, but really pay attention to it, because I think we're, for lack of a better word, there are many people afraid to listen, or they second guess, like they say, that gut, that intuition in you, because it's not the way you were brought up or the people around you aren't doing that. You don't think it's logical. You don't think it makes sense. So you second guess it. And those are the habits that the defaults that I'm trying to break.
Totally. Yeah. I can completely relate to that. And before we're going to move forward, I just want to acknowledge all the people that are joining us right now. I'm using my phone to check the messages, and I see Biana, Aina, Hannah. Oh my God, thank you so much. Boris, Jacqueline, thank you so much. Nelly, thank you so much for all the beautiful messages we got from you. Thank you for showing up and being part of this conversation. And my dog is here, like, well, we're at home, it's Zoom, so all kinds of noises and everything around us is real. This is as real as it gets. So we're embracing all of that and dancing with all of that. And so, Amy, I could relate to that so much. In my world, I had to prove myself to myself every single time. It doesn't matter how big of a project I'm working on, how big of an impact the product that we're creating has, and millions of people are using it. It doesn't matter. Every time I finish it and need to start the new one and ready to start the new project, it feels like I'm naked again. It feels like I'm starting from complete zero. So it's that thing that it's like this opposite force that takes me away from trusting myself, takes me away from knowing that I am the one to deliver it. I am the one to create it. I'm the one to give it birth. I had to prove it to myself every single time. I'm working on it for quite a while, but I have to be honest. That seed, that like thing, it still creeps in. It shows up, and it's like, who are you to do this work? There are other people who can do it, and maybe they're better. And this is something that I believe that many people are dealing with in one form or another, and I certainly had still, I'm facing that very often. So, and the way you said it, Amy, because the magic, like, and Amber, you said that also, that our magic, when we in the flow, and again, I'm using the word magic. It could be the zone of genius. It could be your very unique gift. However you relate to that very special, that is only yours. When you're in the flow with it, it's like the creator shines through you and you're flowing. It's happening. It's happening with ease and grace and love. So it doesn't feel like you're working, and I'm wishing it to every single one of you to have that when you don't feel that you're working, but you are doing something that is pure joy and you're giving birth to something beautiful, whether it's a book, a song, a doctor, are you creating something with your hands? Doesn't matter what it is. When you are aligned with it, that magic, that unique gift feels like you're flowing with it. And because it's so like natural to you and easy, sometimes there will be forces that will whisper, or maybe it's a loud voice, that whatever your buttons are, for me, it's like, are you the one? Who are you? Are you for real? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me be the first to admit, I am a work in progress. It's not like I've got this all mastered or that I'm always in the flow. And this this transformation to being not just a writer, but a coach and a creative in other media has been the most challenging for me. When I first started my coach training, several people in my family passed away very suddenly. We moved home from Abu Dhabi after 8 years abroad. There was a big family feud thrown in the mix of losing family members. And just for good measure, a hurricane happened at the same time. So I was thrown into feeling super vulnerable. And my fear of doing something wrong, of not being good enough, came up big time. And it was really a very strong invitation to get curious. And it was only once I hired my own coach and I learned more about regulating your nervous system and about internal family systems that I realized these patterns are not personal failings, that they are actually defense mechanisms a younger version of me created to protect me at some other time, and that they worked. They worked. And they helped me get through whatever I was dealing with at that time, no matter what age it was or whether you were younger or older. Those patterns served you. And once I was able to see that, I was able to give that younger version of myself, or that scared version of myself, or that angry version of myself, compassion and gratitude for trying to protect me. Whereas mostly I would just criticize myself when I was being super hard on myself and fearing doing something wrong. It was all criticism all the time. There was no compassion. And once I was able to see that these are what I call safety strategies. They were meant to keep us safe. And once I was able to access that compassion for myself, it opened up a whole new level for me. And I'm wondering, Amber, is there anything that opened up for you when you were able to address your defaults?
Yes. And I love everything you're sharing about how you say it's an invitation to get curious. Right? Because I think what I've encountered with a lot of people sometimes who will listen to what I have to say or come, to an event and they say, okay, this like looks and sounds all great, but literally, how do I go from here to there? And well, it's a number of things and it's the timing and I love the flip to getting curious versus thinking that there's fixing because doesn't need to happen. But I think it's a personal thing when you get uncomfortable enough that you're finally ready to like do what it takes to look at it. Like Lisa shared, working with a coach, that's been hugely transformational for me. And so for me in the journey, what it made possible as I started shifting those, like I thought of it like this responsibility. I have a staff of 10. I now have 3 businesses and a musician. And it started to feel like weight on my shoulders. And through a series of understandings and tools and energy work, I shifted that to instead being like, this is lifting me up. Like these are the community, the people who they're here if they want to be here. And it's fueling my life force. You see that shift versus like, oh my gosh, I created all this and now it's burying me versus, oh no, like I like attracted and manifested and created this so it can like propel me bigger and further. And so what that shift made possible, to give practical, because I'm, practical business strategist here, like that's looked like me working less in certain areas of the business that aren't my zone of genius. So I was focused on higher profitable tasks. It looked like finally getting my book done that's ready to launch, finally getting the album done for my band. Like it looked like even having spacious mornings with my dogs. That's something I wanted. I said, I want to be able to get up and snuggle them for 45 minutes and enjoy a coffee and not run to the meetings nonstop. So it's personal, whatever matters to each person. But those are big things for me, right? Like not working 7 days a week, like having spaciousness, and then the practical money tangible outlet or seeing that like the growth of my businesses. And then interestingly, the more I've done that, it's translated for clients because I am now living, breathing, walking the strategies that they do for themselves. And it's just like been profound. They go from working 60 hours a week to 20 hours a week. Clients who built businesses, one who's getting ready to sell a business, even through the pandemic. Like that's what happens when we shift. It's all weighing me down versus, oh, like this has all been here to help me shine more and be more abundant. So that's what it's made possible for me. Let's hear from you, Julia. What's become possible through these awarenesses?
Yeah. So for me, first of all, it's to have compassion to yourself first. We need to have compassion to ourselves first and then extend it to other people. So when I work with my clients, I can relate to them on a very personal level because I went through these experiences. I know how it feels in the body. I know how it affects your whole being. And I also know that if we manage to release it, it gives you so much more strength. You basically can open your wings and embrace that is given to you that is so special. So it really helps me to, as I'm working, and listen, we are alive only because we have a lot of things to work on. And some people may feel it's controversial, but I believe that as long as we have things to work on, we are here in this world. And if we didn't, if we were all angels and perfect, oh well, the next step. So I'm a work in progress, and I will always have something to work on. And what I've noticed that as I face things that I need to release, I need to surrender to, I need to let go of, I get people who need help to do very similar things, whether it's creating their business. And well, my work is about untaming your heart in your life and untaming your heart in your business. So whether there's some blockages in the business, or maybe there's something that needs to be given shape like get the energy through and give shape to it in your business, or maybe there's something in your personal life that somehow is not aligning, somehow is creating like creating barriers to what you really want to create. So as I'm working on me, I get people who I can support working on similar things. And I didn't ask for it. Somehow universe aligns. Somehow I am being walked through experiences that I need to pass along to others. That those are the experiences that are like I'm a student. I'm going to school. I'm going to embody it. I'm going to experience it. And then we're going to pass it along, the knowledge, the learnings, the energy. Does that answer the question? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think so, in a similar way, but obviously saying it very differently, because I know, like, what it's made possible for me leaning. I don't want to say, like you were saying, Lisa, we haven't cured all the defaults, and things are still, we're all a work in progress, but being able to be aware of these defaults and make these transformations, kind of like what you were saying, Amber, the more I uncover the defaults and tune in and stay in my highest level of skill, whatever, like in my highest magic, um, while I'm working at that higher level, so much falls away, so much is released. Um, and being able to delegate, like you were saying, delegate out and know that my vision of what my joy is okay. Like you were saying, your morning with the dogs. It took me a while to be able to say, um, I don't want, and you can have both. And I know these aren't one or the other, but this is how I summarize it. Someone asked me if I wanted a lifestyle or an empire. And and that became with the, like, well, okay, why can't your empire be your lifestyle? And I get that. But for me, my business is not about scaling an empire. I am very clear at where I am and where I want to go and what my vision of joy is. And we've all mentioned coaches. I've been through a few, and it took a while to get a coach who understood that it wasn't about the next revenue level or bringing on 2 more staff or bring that I was looking to hit a level and maintain and not always scale. And that's okay, because that's what, like you were saying, that's what keeps me in joy. That's what keeps me light, not heavy and weighed down. So that it's understanding that, but also then respecting that and being in line with that, and not feeling that it's not enough. So the biggest thing that I've really learned, um, the one takeaway when I've become aligned with my magic is really, it's enough. That's the bottom line. It's enough. And your vision, your view is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Um, those were really, that's really what it all comes down to, is that there's no compare. And just like so many people live in that compare and despair and the up the ladder and all of those next things, and just being able to shed so much of that is really so it's not only lit me up and made my life more joyful in many ways, like you were saying, Amber and Julia as well, it has brought more alignment into my business. Instead of getting 10 3-star clients, for the business strategy people, like my numbers and my black and white science hat, instead of getting 10 3-star clients, I'm getting 5 5-star clients who, again, we work in better alignment, we work together, they're paying higher fees, because we're on the same page. And that it was hard. My default, it was hard to let go of 3-star clients, because they're great and they're wonderful people, but you're working twice as hard because there's not the alignment. And it doesn't mean the way there's nothing wrong with that. It's just finding the relationship that works. And
Yeah.
I think that was so, because I'm like, oh, I love them and they're fabulous. And but then the other side of me was like, but they're driving me crazy because we're not, because we weren't aligned. So that was the biggest thing. It really helped me zone in and bring my business to the whole next level. And again, like now I am jazzed at looking at what we're putting together in the events and the coaches and the leaders that I'm working with. Like I said, it's all leveled up.
Yeah. I love that, Amy. It's yeah. Isn't it amazing what like the moment you own it, what it makes possible? Yeah. So I just want to check in with people who are joining us or who are going to be watching us as a replay. Darla is here, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Michael is there also. Thank you guys for joining. And if you're watching us, please drop us a note. Let us know that it's a replay. If you're watching us on replay, drop us like a little word replay so we know that you are connected with us, because this is collective energy. Everything that is happening right here, right now, it's all collective and you're a big part of it. And I just want to make sure that everyone had a chance to speak about that. Did we all? Yeah? Okay. So then what I wanted to bring into conversation is how do people uncover that unique gift? How do they recognize it? How do we like tune out from the noise, quiet the noise, and get really present to who you really are, the magic of who you really are. What is it that given only to you, only you can deliver? And so, well, I'll start. Like for me, one of the ways I learned is to really trust my intuition. And how do you trust your intuition? How do you know whether you are sensing something, you intuiting it? It's your inner knowing or it's your fear. How do you know what's talking to you? How do you know which voice is talking, right? And so for me, the way it works for me is to drop into my body, turn off my logic, turn off all those things that are structural and very helpful in needing. We need them very much at some point. But at the very seed level of what we're creating, or at very seed level of recognition, of recognizing that magic, lays the inner knowing, that intuition, that your body is speaking to you. Your being is speaking to you. Not limited but what we know, but receiving message directly from the source and being able to connect to it. And so for me, it was expanding my intuition, dropping into my body. And everyone can do it in very different ways. But I think that one of the first steps is to become aware of it. Is it your logic that is speaking very loud and sometimes is coming from wanting to be first, wanting to be winning the game, wanting to look good, wanting to not be judged, to show up in a way that you're going to be all perfect? Or is it something that is much higher than that? It's something that is completely on a different energy and frequency, vibration, that is uniquely yours. And so, again, for me, very often I need to ground myself. I need to slow down. I need to be instead of do. So for me, it's not about putting like check marks. I did that. I did that. I did that. It's all good at some point. But for me, it's first dropping into the being and connecting to that place of me that knows
And
recognizes. Yes.
yeah, and I think that's so interesting because I have a really hard time, and I'm working on it, but that's so difficult for me, that for me, the way that I really had to uncover it and is you can't, for me, I could not go it alone. For people who might not be used to the term, spiritual guide, coach, life coach, business coach, those types of things, it's not a fad. It's not this new thing that's suddenly popping up everywhere. They've been around a really long time. And there are some people that are truly amazing. And I know for me, if it wasn't for me working with a coach, someone who is unbiased, not a potential client, because I work with a lot of coaches and healers and all kinds of people, that those are my potential clients. I had to be very clear in who I was hiring as a coach moving forward, that there would be no conflict of interest, in that I wouldn't have to worry about, oh, if I say this or do this, are they going to think, that there was no expectation on the other side. And that was so helpful, just having someone that's there 100% for me when I need this, to help me uncover that alignment, and buy into my magic and help me strip away the logical voice. So that was for me. There are amazing coaches out there. Interview them, find them, and when it's a fit, you'll know it's a fit.
I agree with that so much, Amy. I've found the same thing for sure. And for me, my suggestion is it's impossible to see big possibilities when you are still caught up in old ways of thinking, when you are triggered, when you are blocked or these barriers. So my suggestion is to take a simple step and get super curious about why you're creating those patterns, where they've showed up in the past. And more than that, if you can just start noticing them, you can create a pause. You can break the pattern. So if you noticed you're overwhelmed or agitated or responding in a bigger way than is called for in the situation, take a break. You could do a breathing exercise like we did at the beginning. Or if you're with other people, ask to be excused for a few minutes and take a walk around the block. Or you could stop right where you are and notice where you are in the room. Say, this is my computer. I see a light. I see the yellow wall in front of me. Because when you're in that old thinking, you are not in the present tense. You're either living from the past or projecting onto the future. And just that simple step of getting yourself into the present can open up new ways of thinking and seeing new possibilities.
So what I'm loving is, I think what we've all spoken to is about creating space. And sometimes it's about letting things go so we can live in our vision of joy and alignment. So I want to just share one of my favorite books, The Big Leap. I'm actually curious if we didn't get to check if the other ladies have read that, but so here's why I want to recommend that. It has a great concept. I'll just quickly hit on it. You'll learn about, you have a zone of incompetence, a zone of competence. Yeah, look at Amy delivering. Zone of incompetence, competence, zone of excellence, zone of genius. We all have all of them. So a really great practical exercise, get that book and do a time study for a few weeks, but also energy study. What depletes your cup and what fills up your cup. So that's like wherever you're at in the journey, I found that this is really useful and practical as a way to just start recognizing what can you just freaking let go of, outsource, let it go. Doesn't matter anymore. Hire someone else to do it, get some help. Because the less we spend the time in the things that we're incompetent or only competent at, that's the stuff that can be weighing us down into what everyone shared here. Until you have the space to even tune in with how you feel, to even get support to look at what could be going on, it's really difficult to do that if you're still bogged down doing way too many things that are just like depleting your energy. So that's my share, is The Big Leap, and do that energy study for a few weeks and see what you're letting go of.
Thank you, Amber. Those are awesome conversations. I wish we could go on and on and on, but we at the top of the hour, we're gonna wrap up right now. But before we go, Amber, I heard about another book
Oh, my book. So I'll share in the comments once I go on the stream. Yeah, my book's coming out, and anyone who may be interested in this continuing this journey, it's all about radical authenticity in life and leadership, and especially like anyone out there who is a multi-creative. I say like my brand is heart-centered badass. So if that's you, you're heart-centered, but you're also like powerful and badass. The book might resonate with someone.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so we're going to leave information in the comments, right, Amber? The link?
Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you. And Amy, if someone wants to get in touch with you and learn more about what you do and connect with you, how can people do that?
So I have my email right there as my name, amy@ttravs.com, stands for Transformational Travels. And in the comments as well, I will be dropping a link to a retreat profit calculator that you can plug in. It's all formulated, and it's a way to, because a lot of people are interested in this, getting people together, because that in-person experience really matters and can make a huge difference. As much as virtual is great and we love being here, it's a whole different level when you're all together. But a lot of people aren't sure where to start with that. So looking at a budget that's all formulated that's a great place to start. And then you send me your budget and I send you a whole strategy. It's easy as that.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Amy. Lisa, and I see that beautiful painting in the background. And who is the artist?
I might not be unmuted, but I did do the painting. It is my painting.
Yes.
If people want to get a hold of me, they can go to my website at lisadunforddickman.com. If you're curious about looking into some of your limiting beliefs in a playful, creative way, I have a free workshop on there called Playing with Paint to Free Your Soul. And you can sign up for my newsletter there.
Wonderful.
How about you, Julia? How do we get a hold of you and see more of your gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous jewelry?
So if you want to see the jewelry, it's on untamedhearts.com. My email is right where my little tag is, julia@untamedhearts.com. And if you want to go even deeper, if you want to have a magic energy session with me and figure out what is it that is really truly yours, what is the magic of you, then you can email me and we will schedule the conversation as well. And with that, thank you so very much to every single person who joined us today. Thank you, Amber, Lisa, Amy. Thank you for people who are watching us as a replay. We really appreciate you. And one more thing I want to say. Thank you for everything we are. And thank you for who we are becoming.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
you.
Thanks for being here. Great to see you.